Called Cinema Discount Bin here. I haven't made a review in, a year, and this channel is dead as fuck. But anyway, let's review Battle Angel Alita 2019. Now, to start off with, I've never read the manga of Battle Angel Alita. I know it's a big deal. I have seen the OVA, though. I'm a pretty big fan of, 80s and 90s OVAs, especially because they have so much gore. Obviously, if you were going to watch this channel, I'm a pretty big gore hound. And that being said, this movie goes to a PG-13, and there's no spine ripping, and sadly enough, the fucking pussies don't have any fucking dog deaths. Apparently, James Cameron is a giant-ass otaku, so he's been wanting to make this movie for years, and it's just kind of like his pet project. I mean, the guy has $1 billion, so he could do whatever he wanted. So eventually, it came out this year after I mean, as long as I've had the internet, I've been reading about this movie supposedly being made, and it's like the Duke Nukem Forever of cyberpunk movies. So I don't know. I mean, it's a lot better than Duke Nukem Forever. The thing about this movie is I would say it's good, but it's not great. And that's because it basically is an OVA. So when you go back and you watch 80s or 90s OVAs and sometimes movies like obviously Battle Angel Alita, the 1993 OVA, or Fist of the North Star, or even Akira, those are action scenes just cut out from the manga. Some of them are better at creating a story like Akira. Some of them are really confusing like X. But they just take the biggest and most foundational action scenes and try to not confuse you the most that they can, instead of adapting the entire anime or the entire manga into an anime or having multiple movies. They just take these big foundational action scenes and cut them together. And that's what the original OVA for Battle Angel Alita is. The thing about it is, if you like watching a spine rip but don't know what's going on, or the gore from Fist of the North Star and you don't care, you don't know what's going on, you're entertained. And for me, this movie's a lot better than a lot of those OVAs from the 80s and 90s, because it's longer. What is it, like 2 hours, 2.5 hours? It's 2 hours, so that's better than being 90 minutes or 55 minutes or something. So it gets a lot more, and it's more coherent. That being said, it meddles around. It's just kind of stretched out, long. It doesn't have very good plotting. And the problem for this movie, if it's exclusively for a Western audience, I don't know if it's going to go to China or East Asia. If it's exclusively for a Western audience, they're not going to like that. They're going to be bored, and it's not going to get good word of mouth, and it's not going to take off. It might, some of these movies, if they get into China, they do take off pretty good, like that Warcraft movie took off in China. So if it gets to China and the Chinese like it, like they like Venom and Warcraft, then it'll take off, and then we'll get sequels to it. Because the idea of this movie is to make one movie for the first plot arc, and then make multiple movies for the subsequent plot arcs. So overall, I was entertained by the movie, but it's nothing special. If they make sequels, I will watch them. I was pretty entertained by the movie, but it's not something I could see connecting with Western audiences. That being said, it's pretty awesome to see James Cameron back. I didn't like Avatar, and he's been working on the Avatar sequels forever. I mean, I don't like every single one of his movies. Obviously, I'm a guy, so Titanic's not my favorite movie, but Terminator 1, Terminator 2, Aliens, his work on writing Rambo 2, his work on writing Point Break, he is really good for the most part. I mean, I don't necessarily like the guy with his million divorces and all that sleazy stuff, but I want him to at least be writing action movies again, and it pretty much fills me with joy to see that he wrote this. There's a lot of kind of like James Cameron stuff in there. And then the other thing is Robert Rodriguez directed it. If you've seen Sin City and Sin City 2, Sin City 2 is kind of an underrated movie, but if you've seen those two movies, Robert Rodriguez is very, very good at adapting comic books. And when he adapts this manga, again, he's very good at translating those scenes, almost shot for shot sometimes, into a live action context, and he really is effective here doing that. And then kind of another downside, because it's actually pretty close, I'm assuming, to the source material, is some of the dialogue is some of the worst dialogue I've ever seen in a modern mainstream movie. Holy shit, is it bad. It looks like it's taken directly from the manga translations. And again, that's really awesome for me as somebody that's big into 80s and 90s OVA and just that horrible dubs, like Resident Evil 1 style dubs. But seeing that in this kind of big movie, I don't think that mainstream Western audiences are going to like that. So, overall, I would suggest seeing this movie. Just keep in mind that it's not the tightest plot-wise. It's plotted like a 80s or 90s OVA or movie adaptation of a manga. Just it's longer, so it's more... it's coherent. It's just not tight. So you might be bored at certain points. The action scenes are pretty good. The CGI is really, really good. It's the best CGI I've ever seen for human-like characters I've ever seen. It's a million times better than, like the Scorpion King of The Mummy 2. And the other thing is that people are going to compare it to Speed Racer and Ghost in the Shell, the movie. Ghost in the Shell, the movie, the live-action movie that came out last year or the year before, was god-awful. This movie is so much better than that. And if you're a big, manga fan, anime fan, and you want to see live-action movies in the West, this is a movie that you should support. You should go see it in the movie theater and get the word of mouth out so that people are seeing it if you want more live-action movies of adaptations of manga and anime from the West.